I've been fired once a year. Once a year since I've moved to Colorado. And I'm finally ready to talk about it. Hi, I'm Amber. I'm going to talk about this experience. Like the title says, I've been fired 3 times in the past 3 years. And it's taught me a lot of different things, but I think I've just internalized it instead of actually getting out what that experience is like and how to just move forward. I've just been pushing on, but I'm tired. I'm actually tired. I moved to Colorado 3 years ago on a whim. My partner and I moved here. And I thought it would be easier to get a corporate job. I don't know why I thought it would be easier. Like when I was initially looking for jobs out here, it wasn't hard to get interviews, and I was still in Maryland, where I'm from. And I was getting emails back about, oh, can you do an interview? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, well, I'm not there yet. So I really didn't think it was going to be hard for me to get a job out here, but I was wrong. It was actually hard for me to keep a job out here. Getting a job out here was easy. Keeping a job, very difficult. Colorado is an at-will state, so they can just fire you whenever they feel like it. The clause of any contract you sign here for a job is Colorado is an at-will state, so we can basically fire you for anything. So there's that. But yeah, the first job I got when I got out here was a preschool teacher, and I quit that job because I was like, this is too much. I'm not doing this. I don't think I want to do this. I'm good. I taught 2-year-olds. I had 10 2-year-olds. That was driving me absolutely insane. And another thing about me, I'll quit a job in a second. I don't care. Like, yeah, I'm making this video about being fired, so maybe I should, like, yeah, I'm upset that I have been fired, but I will quit a job in 2 seconds. So if you fire me, that's why I've been keeping on, because I don't really care about a job. I don't care about a job. I'm a good employee when I'm there. I do what I have to do to get by, but 9 times out of 10, I don't care about politics of jobs. And yeah, at the end of the day, if you're working for somebody else, you're just making money for somebody else. But that's why most of the jobs I did have been community service jobs or teaching. Like I was an educator. So my I'm working for kids. I'm better in the future. Like that's different, but that's also very draining. So that's why I don't want to be in education anymore. Anyways, I'm getting sidetracked. So I quit the preschool. I also had a side job in addition to the preschool, so that's also why I was really burnt out because I was leaving those 2-year-olds to go back to work, and it was way too much because I would be at work from like 7 a.m. to 10 p.m., like 3 days out of the week. Way too much. So, yeah, I quit preschool, and then I just worked my side job, and then I ended up getting hired as an educational assistant for a farming organization, and that was cool when I was doing it, but it was a nonprofit, and it was a very interesting interesting experience is all I will say right now. But eventually, yeah. I had a coworker that got fired from there because, and she's actually my friend now, because she asked why we were farming on Juneteenth. And it is a BIPOC operated organization. Why are we a black owned farming organization working on Juneteenth? Anyway, my friend asked that question to my boss and she fired her. So that just tells you what you need to know about that job and that environment. Um, Another coworker at the time had told me that she overheard a conversation that I was going to be the next person fired. So before I got fired, I already knew I was going to be fired. So then I just stopped doing my job fully and I stopped caring because it's like, I'm just here with a paycheck at this point because you think I'm going to be on the chopping block. So I'm going to act like I'm on the chopping block. Anyways, yeah, they ended up firing me like 2 weeks after I found out. So while it was upsetting, it didn't really take a dig at my self-worth because it was a very weird organization to begin with. However, it did ignite a real joy of farming and sustainable agriculture and growing food in me. So I am very grateful for that job. Love that I got that experience. So it was beautiful, but it sucked being fired. But I also didn't want to work for this person anymore. So that was all right. Still worked my side job after I got fired from there. Then I applied to schools to be a teacher because I was a health teacher before I left Maryland. And I worked at an alternative school, an alternative high school teaching health. So I wanted to leave that bitch anyway, too. Was not an easy job. Was not an easy job. And I also want to mention while working in Maryland, my first ever job that I ever had as a human being, I kept for years and years and years and years to the point where I ended up becoming a part of management of that facility. So I've always had a cushy experience and I've never, ever been fearful of being fired. I never had fear of being fired at the high school because they needed my body. They needed my body to be there because of an alternative school. It wasn't even about the teaching. They just needed help with those kids. Like, so of course I never had fear there because they needed me. So when I got to Colorado and I kept getting fired, yeah, anyway. Okay, so boom. Then I apply to schools to become a teacher because, who doesn't need teachers? Let me preface this by saying I don't have I have an education degree, but I don't have a teaching license because I never wanted to be a teacher. My sister is a teacher. God bless her. I never wanted to do it. But when I became a health teacher, it was 2020 and it was COVID and I needed a job. So I was like, shoot, I have a health education degree. I can go teach. I'm sure there's somewhere I can go. And in Maryland, when it comes to licensing, like you can get a job as a teacher, but you have to be on track to be getting your teaching license. And of course, I lied my way through that. Never really intended to really do it. Um, I was just gonna keep doing it for as long as they could keep me. And they still didn't get rid of me and still took my lies of me eventually going to take the praxis and all this other stuff because again, they really need my body. And if you have an education degree, you can get by for so long, right? So, yeah. And it also was like not a part of the public school system because it's an alternative school. So it was kind of a little bit chartery. So that's also why I could get by not having a license. So yeah, anyway, when I ended up getting a job as a fifth grade elementary school teacher here in Colorado, somewhere in the county, and stressful job, but they were definitely more serious about having a license, and because I didn't have one, I had to become a long-term substitute teacher in order to stay with my students. So I did that. I became a long-term substitute teacher in order to stay with my students. And that's what I was working as when they fired me. They said it would be less money to hire a full-time teacher under contract with a license as opposed to keeping me as a long-term sub because they had to spend money on my subcontract. Whatever. So it was a very, very sad day when I had to part from my students because I love those kids. I love them. They got on my last nerve. They got on my last nerve, but I would not trade that experience for the world. Those are my only set of kids. I don't want to be a teacher. So those are like, yeah, teaching high school is one thing, but like, it's high school, it's an elective. So you see different students, whatever. But seeing those kids every day and actually like talking to their parents and like being in a really adulty adult, like, and like having 20 something kids under my wing, like, man, that's a relationship. Like, I built such a relationship with those kids. Like, my last day, all of us just cried. Like, it was very devastating. That was heartbreaking. Me being fired from there was heartbreaking. But again, not really a dig at my self-worth per se, but very upsetting. Very upsetting because you should have spent that money to keep me. The relationship I had with those kids, the fact that I was the only teacher on that floor remotely bilingual enough to have a good relationship with our Spanish speaking students. Yeah, them getting rid of me for a lady who did not know a lick of Spanish, please. But it is what it is. Yeah, disheartening. This last time of me getting fired, though, sucked. I did get fired on Friday the 13th, like February 13th. That was a Friday. So that was cool. I liked that. But no, it sucked because this time it was actually my fault of why I got fired. Like it was justifiable. It actually made sense. The first two times was bullshit. I mean, the first time was especially some BS because it was no real reason to fire me other than I had woken up to the BS that this organization was trying to play. And I'm being from the DMV and being in Colorado, no, like I'm not one of them. I am from a place in America where we thrive. We thrive in the DMV. Over here, we don't thrive like that. No regrets on moving though. I love Colorado, but well, I, I do love Colorado. I really do. I haven't had a bad experience. Knock on wood. But I do love it here. Yeah, like I wasn't going for that with the first job that I got fired from, so that didn't really matter to me too much. The second time, whatever. The third, like this time, it was me. That was the reason that I got fired, and it hurt. And then I was on a team of like 15 other women, and we really developed a bond in some ways. Like, although I will say I have trust issues, and it's not just because I'm a Scorpio, but I do, because I've been fired twice before. Now, when it comes to jobs, I am guarded. When it comes to jobs, I don't trust shit. So this time I actually did allow myself to drop my guard down a little bit and get to know the team. But in the back of my mind, I'm always like, this is an outlaw state. You can get fired for whatever. Like, don't get too comfortable. And I got comfortable, but I didn't take it to heart too bad because I've been fired before. However, this time it was a little embarrassing. Like being a part of the team and then not being a part of the team anymore was embarrassing a bit. A little shameful. Kind of hurt. The job was stressful and being let go, like I've been let go from better places at this point, but being let go, like, kind of did take a dig at me. It was a stressful job, and my ADHD, and it was a very liability heavy position. So my ADHD brain not functioning to care enough about like to like follow all these protocols. I was a liability, essentially, in more or less words, and it's cool. It was a stressful job though. Like it was stressful. It was mental health work, stressful. So me getting fired definitely lifted a lot off of my heart. Like going to work every day and just being with kids who were going through so much, very heavy work. I was losing sleep. Like I developed insomnia from that job. I don't have no more that I don't work there anymore. I don't have insomnia anymore, but being there, I've actually felt what insomnia feels like, and it's not fun. I do want to also acknowledge, though, my privileges in being fired. I have a partner that I live with and can, in some ways, fall back on. I have parents. And while I do have those privileges, it has allowed me to do a lot of self reflection. It has allowed me to do a lot of self reflection. Yeah, just coming to terms with the fact of why those things happen to me and the part that I play in those things and why the pattern of me being fired has come up. Essentially, I don't think I'm meant to really work a job. And the idea of working for other people is absolutely disgusting. So it's given me a push to really focus on me and not resort my energy to things that I don't want to do. For each job that I lost, I feel like I lost a part of my identity or I lost a version of myself that I thought I was. So being fired sucks, but honestly, if you were fired, were you really even meant to be there? If you were fired, was that really the place for you? Because if it was, they wouldn't have let you go. Essentially, these people are doing us favors, but it sucks because we tie up a lot of our identity into the jobs that we work, but really, they're just jobs that we work. Having a career, if that's your MO, that's beautiful, but who are you outside of your title? For me, I've never liked a job, so it's always been who am I, period. A lot of the times we're really not aligned with things and we try to force ourselves into these square holes when we're fucking triangles or circles or ovals or rectangles and we're trying to fit into a square and that's not us. We don't have to do that. At the end of the day, getting fired 3 times really told me that job security is an illusion. As we all have learned by now, they'll replace you tomorrow if you die. If you die in your desk, they're gonna replace you with somebody else in like 2 hours. They already had like 5 people on standby. And even if you're someone that's working a job that you're good at, does that even mean that it's a job for you? You are not your employment status. You are not the title that they gave you. You are a person and a human outside of that. Perhaps every time I've ever been fired was just redirection. So, if I had any advice or pointers for anyone who has just been let go from their job, it would be first and foremost, number one, don't let it affect your self worth. Absolutely not. Do not let it affect your self worth at all. At the end of the day, fuck a job. For real. So don't let it affect your self worth. Especially when they are just gonna find somebody else to refill your spot and that person is gonna be just as disposable as you. So don't let it affect your self-worth. I'd also say to have at least a little bit of money saved. Like I mentioned before, I do have privilege when it comes to that. However, after each job, I did have either a side job to fall back on or I saved up some money. And like with this last job, I told myself that this was going to be the last time I had a side job because I only wanted one job because I was tired of working so much and I got fired from my one job. But I still had a little bit of money saved up, so I was able to pay rent for the month. or I saved up some money. And like with this last job, I told myself that this was going to be the last time I had a side job because I only wanted one job because I was tired of working so much. And I got fired from my one job. But I still had a little bit of money saved up. So I was able to pay rent for the month. And also reflect, take some time to reflect before jumping into another position. Take a week or two before even looking for another job. That's your week. They let you go. It's okay. Take your week, boo. You're free. Reflect before even searching for another job. Um, Also let yourself grieve. Like if it's sad, if it sucks, feel it. It's okay. Let yourself be sad, let yourself be mad. Feel all those feelings. It's okay. You're beautiful. Fuck a job.